Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today we're going to be looking at what fortune are you starting to create in the liminal space. And so it's picking up the theory that anything that manifests in the 3D in our day-to-day world is almost always manifested to some degree in the liminal space first. So if we have access to that, access to the energies that we're sort of drawing on at that level, we can either increase a particular fortune we like or maybe risk mitigate or even eliminate a fortune that we don't like. So whether you take the viewpoint that character is destiny and things that are unconscious and not brought to the surface we manifest as fate, whatever particular ways you want to look at it, that's what we're exploring today. And it's to celebrate me having just received a couple of decks that I backed on Kickstarter. This is some cards from one of them. This is the Fata Morgana Oracle deck. There's also a Fata Morgana Lenormand. And it's sort of the natural partner decks to the Lucid Minds Tarot, which anyone familiar with my channel will have seen a number of times because it's one of my favourite tarots. It's just like these cards. It's a really interesting, the tarot is a really interesting depiction of the tarot archetypes that kind of places them in a desert sort of theme, which takes you into that lucid minds, lucid dreams sort of space, and then has both sort of mystical sort of objects and also familiar objects, but in unfamiliar ways and so forth, that gives us this metaphysical energy, and I really love it. It's one of my favourite tarot decks, and I was really delighted to back the Kickstarter to get a matching Oracle and a matching Lenormand. And I felt because of the Lenormand in particular, and Oracles are often more around fortune than they are necessarily around other things, that we would create a reading that connected the Lucid Minds Tarot with these in such a way that we focused on fortune. And I thought because of the landscape we're going to be in, why not the liminal space? So that's where we're at, and that's why we're here. The details for the decks are now available at the creator Elena's Etsy store now, so you don't have to have gone through the Kickstarter. All the details are in the description box below if you're interested in getting them. So with no further ado, let's do the choice. Sorry, I don't know what that was on my table. You can go to more than one reading, of course, if you would like. There might be a number of different sort of fortune energies that are operating in different ways. So if you feel drawn to more than one pile, by all means do that. And of course, if you just always go to pile two, go to pile two. But to help otherwise, I've got two other cards from this deck there, so we will get three sort of energies that are operating on a fortune level for you in the liminal space. We're going to look at Lenormand, the matching Lenormand, with a little bit more information about that, so one card for each. And then we're going to use the Akashic Records deck that I have to just see what really key area of your life these sort of things all either come together to work on or are primarily directed towards, or what's the first step to look at in your life, depending upon what we see. So for pile number one, we have Unveiling Truth. For pile number two, we have the intriguingly named Sand Dancer. And for pile number three, we have the Empty Seat. So very intriguing sort of energies to start with. And as I say, if you want to go to more than one reading, do so. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile one. So you can do the reading with Unveiling Truth. And this card is fairly self-explanatory. There's an energy here. This card talks about a truth coming into sight. Removing the obstacles, pulling back the curtain here, seeing what is true, seeing the new dawn coming through, that kind of energy. So there is something about your fortune at the moment on a liminal level that is going to bring in and manifest in the material world an understanding of something, a truth that you will be helped by seeing and knowing and being able to understand for what it is. And I think it's fairly clear the nature of that truth when we look at the other two cards here. Firstly, over here we have the burden. So this is, again, fairly self-explanatory. There's some sort of burden that you've been carrying. That's what this card talks about. Burdens that we either consciously or unconsciously carry. It could be a regret from something in the past. It could be responsibilities for others. It could be a work responsibility. It could be financial concerns. It could be anything. But it's saying that you're going to, part of your fortune coming through is to understand something about that and understanding your power to relieve yourself of the burden, possibly by asking for help. This card does talk about asking for help when you need it. But I feel for this also, because it is hovering above the person, I think this might be understanding that the burden connects mainly to the mind, given this other card here. it's like it's almost not as heavy as you think, but it's still hovering over the mind. So it's more like a belief of a burden, I feel, in the way that that's portrayed, given the nature of this card and given the fact that this is truth, that the mind comes into sort of connection with the truth to relieve the burden so that it can float away, basically. And I think it has to do with some sorrow that is ready to be let go, because here we have shedding sorrow. It's saying that once you realize this, you can unburden yourself, you can shed a sorrow. So there's some regret. It could be that you felt that you let someone down or let yourself down. It could be that you have lost in love or in some career situation or whatever. But once you clear that energy, the truth is that the burden will actually float away. You will be relieved of the burden. Right now, I would say you feel you're carrying it. And I feel like you feel like only you can carry it. So part of the truth may also be understanding that others can help you. There may be a question here about who should help you. So we'll see what we get, particularly with the Lenormand around this. But I think the message is pretty simple and pretty clear here. You are going to become more and more aware, because of the work that you're doing on a liminal level, that you are carrying a burden more in your mind now than in actuality. Once you let go of the energy, sorrow, grief, disappointment, whatever it might be, you can actually clear that path for yourself. The other thing that this makes me think of, actually, and some of you might be interested, is that there is a symbolic journey that you can do called the cube. I think that I read a book about it years ago, and I think that there are various sort of YouTube channels that have done things about this. So if that draws you in, the concept of something in the desert, because the whole thing is in the desert, the cube process is in the desert. I'm just getting that for some of you it could be useful to go and do that it might tell you something as well. So it's not going to be everybody, but if that sort of is curious to you, then maybe go and look it up. Okay, so what we're going to do to add to this, because I think that's a pretty simple message, I think it's pretty clear what this is about, is that we're going to use the matching Lenormand deck. We're just going to pull one card for each, for just some fortune energy associated with it. So oracles, as I say, are kind of fortune, but they're also kind of giving us an idea of the energies overall. So they're not necessarily telling you that something has to happen, but they're telling you the prevailing sort of energy around something. Whereas Lenormand, any of the more fortune-oriented decks are more like what is coming in. So this will give us a little bit more of an idea about that. And then we're going to look at the particular area in life where this burden and this sorrow and this truth may need to be brought to the surface. So let's start with the truth first, because that was where we entered into this reading. And we get mice. Okay, something's eating away. Something is eating away at your resources, your happiness, your sense of security. That's what the mice is all about. And sometimes it's so subtle we're not even aware of it. So I think there could be here, this really feels like either there are people who are eating away at your resources and what you're doing. You're putting a lot of effort in, you're putting more, if you're in a university project, you're doing more than the rest of your team are doing, for instance. They're eating away because you're taking on the burden or whatever. Something is being eaten away, and it is affecting your sense of security or whatever, but it's other people. So there is something here about you not taking on more than is what you are required to do, and not taking on other people's burdens. That's definitely there, but if you allowed it to occur, then it will happen. It's not necessarily that the mice mean harm. Mice in and of themselves are just, eating and feeding and in their cycle of life. But you need to be aware that that's going on. Something is eating away at something in your life. So let's see a little bit about the fortune energy around the burden. Tree, okay. What you could really grow, what could really blossom for you. The burdens, this is saying there is something really wonderful you could grow and do. That's what the tree is. It's actually an incredibly powerful, good energy. So it is saying something really good wants to blossom for you. But you're carrying burdens. And it's obviously some burdens from the past. And it's where other people are maybe taking advantage of your energy and your growth and your application and your responsibility. So it is meant to be something that you really, really grow with, and it's meant to be a blessing. But at the moment, it feels more like a burden. So what do you need to shed sort of fortune-wise to access the energy of the tree? Because the tree is one of the best cards in the Lenormand deck. The sun, your life path, and optimism. Yeah, now this is interesting, actually. If you look at it in the context of here, we have this desert theme. The sun can work, it is a very positive card in Lenormand. So overall, this is meant to be a very positive thing. So I think this is telling you something about when other people and other energies are eating away and putting unfair burdens on you, the sun turns from being the positive thing that helps the tree grow to something that dries out everything. So it's almost as though you haven't even been able to cry, been able to release and to express this. So it's like making sure that the sun energy allows you to release all that is drying you out so that you can actually grow towards something. You can nourish the energy for yourself. So it's a very positive thing that's going on, but there is a truth here to face, which has to do with, it's even like maybe you're very, very optimistic, you're very positive, you move forward with things really positively. Other people let you just do that, and you end up carrying the burden, and you dry out, like it dries out all that you could do. And that eats away at what you could do. So this is like getting things into balance. That's what we're talking about, like making it fair. There's something unfair in this situation, but you have this tendency to take that on. But a lot of it has to do with what you believe, what you're thinking. So let's see what area in life in particular this might be occurring. Money and investment. Yeah, that's interesting with the mice. This is affecting, this is around career, investments, where you put your resources, all of that kind of thing. So there's something in that area to look at. Let's get you a first piece of advice before we have a look at what Tarot wants to say about how to get this truth coming out, relieving yourself of a burden or getting the help that you need rather than feeling you have to do it all yourself, and letting go of past disappointments around this that might have made you feel you have to be stoic rather than growthful, so to speak. Obligation. Stop telling yourself you should. When you cater to others or to unnecessary expectations of yourself, you stop your flow of abundance. Yeah, you stop the water, it dries out. There's a very big should here. And whether people around you are deliberately telling you this to sort of eat away at what you have, or whether they've just come to accept it because you're just the provider, there's an imbalance. It's been saying it from the beginning. So let's see what the Tarot wants to tell us. So we're going to ask, how does this fortune align with what your path is meant to be? Like, what is this step on your path? Then we're going to look at what practical elements are involved in all of this. And then we're going to look at the balance of you versus external events or other people that are involved in this fortune. So just where is this sitting at the moment and what's your life path? Queen of Swords reversed, Strength reversed, Ten of Wands. Wow, you take on burdens. Ace of Swords reversed. King of Wands reversed. All right. So this has a feeling, like it has a feeling like the child that has to become the parent because of a breakup in a relationship, or the oldest sibling, who has to look after the others, or the person in a workplace, as I say, or in a project team or whatever that takes on all the work. There's a very strong energy here overall that you have a tendency to do this. Your back is very strong. You can bear it. But right now, it's like you are very critical of yourself, like you're being critical of yourself and your strength. If you can't carry all this burden, you'd be critical of yourself rather than being critical of those that are relying on you. As a result of it, there are some energies that are being illegitimate in what they expect. If this was in a workplace, you've got a boss who's very difficult to deal with and puts all the burden on you and takes all the credit, that kind of thing. There's something like that. There's an abuse of power operating. But the real key thing is it's getting in the way of what you could do and create in your own mind. But I feel like you've been trained, I reckon, even from childhood. I think a lot of you grew up in families where there was you had to succeed, you had to be responsible, you had to be grown up really early. And if you didn't, particularly maybe, I think the father energy here, just if we have like a traditional family, and of course not everybody comes from a traditional family, so extrapolate with what works for you, but the father energy, I think, that you're kind of carrying this from was very dominant, and it was their way or the highway. The mother's energy was it was almost like it feels as though the mother energy may have required you to be almost standing between her and the father energy is almost what it feels like. It feels like she was critical if you weren't strong enough to deal with this, and maybe also to protect her. Like you would critique yourself if you weren't strong enough to take the burden, and it was a burden you shouldn't have taken on. It was too much. And so now you have a tendency to do it. But there is something you need to shed the sorrow of this. You need to understand that it wasn't your fault, because that will then clear this up and clear the burden away from you. So what practical elements are involved in your fortune around this right now? Three of Pentacles reversed, the Hanged Man, Ten of Cups, Two of Wands. Wow. Yeah, you really do sacrifice to other people. And look, sacrifice and being responsible and being stoic are all wonderful qualities. You're a wonderful person. It's just the trouble is that it's too much, because there's not collaboration. This is you kind of feel you are the natural stoic, and you feel like you have to be able to carry this and you have to be able to do it all yourself. And one of the ways this could operate unconsciously and create, as I say, create the burdens coming in, if it's happening in the liminal space, which is what we're talking about, is if you've somehow inculcated the thought that if you want something done right, do it yourself, and I'm the only one who can do this, and I'm the only one who's strong enough, and I'm the only one who's going to see it through, then you actually cut off the capacity to ask for help or connect with others. You sacrifice for the others rather than ask for the help of the others. So it's understanding that there is a possibility here to go towards something that is more mutually emotionally fulfilling, to bring the water back, for it not to be so arid. And it's even if you did come from a family where this was, it's sort of like understanding the opposite is the way to deal with it. You know, they sort of say that, you know, sometimes if you grow up in a family where there's addiction, for instance, it can either create addiction in you or the exact opposite, because it's like you see it and you don't want it. There could be here an understanding that you don't have to replicate that, and you can make a choice to go in your own direction. But right now, your fortune is being created by taking on too much. And what is trying to be revealed to you is other people can take their fair share, and that won't destroy connections, and that frees you up to do more. So let's just see a balance of internal or external. So any of the Ace to 10 are things that are within you. Court cards are actual other people, and then major arcana are external events that are impacting on the fortune, and why this is coming up now, and why you are creating a fortune where you carry too much and where it eats away at you. So this is why Spirit wants you to actually shift it. So what's really involved in the balance of that? Ten of Swords reversed, Two of Swords, the World, Eight of Cups, Three of Cups reversed. Okay, most of this is internal to you. And that makes sense with the sense that this is like, what do you believe? What truths do you believe? What narrative are you telling yourself, you know, in your head? Where is the burden coming from? It's interesting because this felt like Atlas, you know, carrying the world. And then we have the world there surrounded by all these internal energies. I don't want drama. I need to feel that I make the choices, and I don't necessarily have all the information to do that. So I just don't want drama. I'm walking away from anything that has to do with emotional stuff. Like there's a side of you, this stoicism is also, I don't want to see the emotional side of things, but what that's doing is it's not nourishing. You can't create the tree if you don't have water. It's too arid, and you're carrying the world on your shoulders. But it's a personal thing. As I say, it's probably been created by some sort of dynamic in your childhood or in a workplace or something like that. But you'd just be so hard on yourself if you didn't think you could just carry everything. But that's not going to help you. You're going to get stuck. So that's the energy. This is what, you know, don't create something that eats away at what you're trying to do. Create something that's growthful, because with the sun and with the tree turning up with the Lenormand, you're meant to have growth here, but you're getting in your own way is basically what it's saying. And it's a little bit of tough love there, but it's important to know it. It comes from a very good place, but it's not working for you. It's eating away at what you could have. So let's have a look at some spiritual energies around this. What's going on spiritually for you? Take a moment to reflect. I think you're just overburdened. You're not thinking. You're not like, it's just because you don't have all the information at the moment. You don't want the drama. You just keep moving. You keep carrying it. Like, I'll just keep carrying it. I'll just keep carrying it. Like, you actually have a really sharp mind. You could actually work out a strategy to relieve most of those burdens, but you just keep on moving because you feel like you just have to keep moving. So there really is take some time out, connect into this, find the truth, and take care of yourself. Yeah. You know what interests me here too is we see two eyes of different colours. It's like, look at things differently, I think. Look at things differently. Take time and look at it differently. You need to take care of yourself as well. Even if you said, at the end of the day, I'm still the person who's got to carry most of this burden. It's like, if you collapse halfway along, then everybody loses. So there is really, you know, like, you have to think about yourself as well, Paltu. You're a little bit too self-effacing, I have to say. Like, you take on too much. So let's see what's in or out of balance for you chakra-wise. So we have the solar plexus chakra. I do have a warm personality balance. So this isn't going to make you unpopular. You come from a very warm, nice place. You really do care about people. People really like you. As I say, I don't actually think most people here, I think maybe some of your early training that made you feel you had to be the strong one might have been a little bit, not necessarily abusive full on, but like something that wasn't well balanced. But I think in general, you're very well liked, but people will go along with the person who's the strong person and the leader. If they're not asked to do something, then you can't really get upset with them if they don't. So, but you know, you are a very powerful person within yourself. This is not a weakness to be looking at, maybe can we go faster, get further if we work together. And we have the sacral chakra. I feel addictive behaviours creeping in, overactive. Yeah, you have a tendency to do this. This is almost like an addictive thing. So when you're creating something, you feel like you've got to do it. But that warm personality, going back to that and finding your power connecting with others, breaking that pattern, that's the important thing for you to do. So let's get you a couple of spirit animals. If you're out in the desert, it'd be kind of nice to have some spirit animals to help guide you. See what messages they have for you. So firstly, we have the ant. Oh yeah, the ant's the busy, communal, helping others type of energy, isn't it? Like you're so responsible, and that's lovely. Like, I'd love to work with you, but I try to carry my weight, mind you. But like, you know, you're very, very productive and very, very industrious. And butterfly, but there is sort of like a need for transformation as well. Overall, you know, the ant is about working with others as well. You're very industrious, but it is a communal beast. So the ant is trying to get you to connect with others, and butterfly transforms so that you can find your true potential. Like, it is like, if you were able to remove some of those burdens, share that out a bit, you could actually potentially put some of your energy into something else transformative in the true potential and really take things further. In the end, it would be better for the group than you carrying everything. That's pretty much the message all the way through here. Let's see a couple of planetary pairings that could help you as well. Jupiter and Pluto. Big transformational change, big expansion, big outcomes. Like the Jupiter there is very much like the tree. There is such potential here, but there's a big transformation that's necessary for that. You have a transformative energy. Maybe some of you have very big aims, you know, socially, politically, career-wise, spiritually, and you can do it. You definitely can do it. But Jupiter can be too much sometimes, so don't let it expand too much. Pluto can be too disruptive sometimes to you and to your own energy. So think about how to balance those energies, pile one. And Venus and Jupiter. Yeah, what is in your heart? What do you really want to create? And you have a huge heart. See, this is the thing. This is all coming from the fact that you really care about other people. You really do love people, and you really do want to support them. But again, you overdo it sometimes. So it's just, don't overdo it. Now, get a bit of balance in there. People will appreciate it. People like you. You've got a lovely personality. But like, don't let them unconsciously, and I do think it's unconscious, you take advantage of you, because you're creating this in the liminal space. You're creating this sort of concept of constantly having this burden, and you're not letting go of the pain or whatever that created that burden in the first place. You've got to see this. You've got to unveil that truth, because otherwise it just eats away at all you could do. So let's just finish with the last couple of pieces of fortune from Madame Andorra. These could either be further warnings for you to think about, or they could be good fortune energies to leverage. So just to bring it all together for you. The Sphinx, choose your words carefully. Now, that works on a couple of levels. If you've taken this on and you go, yeah, I'm going to shift it, then think carefully about how you say it, because it is going to be a shift. and people may at first sort of push back. So how do you express this to bring people on? Remember, you have this lovely warm personality. Remember that you have the capacity to bring in really beneficent things from the heart. But think about that. Think about how you say it. But it could also be, the way you're speaking about things, is this creating this? Is this creating this sort of burden, even if you didn't mean to do that? So think about the impact of what you're saying. And the Griffin, honour and good luck. Yeah, like it's meant to be good. Ultimately, this is a very, very positive message, but it's kind of like you can win to level 2 if you do everything yourself and then you exhaust yourself, or you can win to level 10 if you share the load a bit and you really grow and expand in a way that is sustainable for everybody. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the intriguing Sand Dancer. And what we have here is a couple of other cards to give us a bit of an idea in combination. What's happening in the liminal space with you? What are you creating as a fortune there? And how do you best do that? And that's really what this is talking about. This is actually very, very positive. But it is telling you there's a step to really do in the liminal space first and then do it in the material world, because it will really get you what you are wanting to get here. Because the Sand Dancer, which is what we're talking about here, is the joy of being your authentic self. See how she's sort of dancing, fiery kind of energy, very Queen of Wands sort of energy. So there's a sense here of really becoming true to your authentic self and having the joy and the celebration around that. So you are creating a future where you can feel that way. You can feel that you are truly yourself, truly self-actualized, truly doing something you want, whether it's in a love relationship, a career, a creative energy, your spirituality, some combination of all of them. This is you becoming you. What this is saying is telling you how to do it, and to do it first in liminal space, through dreams, through meditation, through whatever process you use. Because this is saying right now, the only thing that's standing between this fortune and you is that you've got too close to the details of something. With the big picture reversed, it's like with the big picture upright, you're really seeing everything. And it's like you've got the bird's eye view, you're really understanding it all. But when the big picture is reversed, you've got really close to something. You're so much in the weeds and the details that you're not necessarily seeing all its potential or your own potential. So this feels almost like if you were someone who, to get to this Sand Dancer energy, you're kind of doing, like a journey of self-discovery and, doing every personality profile you can do and talking to every guru you could talk to or whatever. It's almost like you're getting so much into the weeds, you're not seeing the whole thing. So this is asking you to step back and look at the bigger picture about who are you, what do you want to be, not all the details. We are all walking contradictions, let's face it. We may have an overarching sense of who we are and what we want to be, but every once in a while we're going to do something that seems to be diametrically opposite to that. And that doesn't mean the whole thing is not working. It's that we are consciousness in flow, and there's going to be those sort of like points of great unity and alignment and points of like disalignment and change. So if you understand on that bigger picture, you don't think I have to be this one thing and that's it, because it's like, I have to tick this and this and this. If this was you looking for a love match, it might be that you've got a list of qualities, and until you can tick off every single one, you're not going to have the person. But the big picture is who makes your heart open when you walk in a room, because you might get someone who fits every single one of those things, but like there's just no passion. So there's something like that going on in the liminal space, understanding you need to do that, which connects the stairway to the stars. Like this literally is almost giving you a way of doing it. It's literally saying if you're too close to the earthly energies around this, in the liminal space, in your dreams, in meditations, go up a stairway into the stars, get as high as you can above something, like an eagle soaring above it all, and look at it that way. Look at what the potential is. Look at what the cosmos provides. Look at all of that. Don't be looking with the minute detail through a microscope. Look more through a telescope at everything. That connects you more to who you really are, and that connects you to your capacity to do that. You're sort of someone who maybe looks for the detailed pattern recognition as opposed to what are you trying to create. You're probably one of those people who's very good at pattern recognition, actually, but that's fine. It's good and it's a great skill, but you also need to be able to step back. And this is saying you have the capacity to step back and see, well, what's the pattern all about as well? Not just does it work, but like what's it all about? So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look with the Lenormand deck that is married to this deck. what kind of fortune is around each of these, just to get a sense of how that fortune energy is operating in the liminal and what you might need to either look out for and be aware of or leverage in some way. Then we're going to use the Akashic Records Oracle to have a look at what's the key area in life that either brings all this together or is a starting point, and get you some advice before we use the tarot. So let's start with the sand dancer. Let's start where we want to be, where there is great fortune for you to become more and more happy and joyful in what you are and what you're doing and how you express yourself. The Lenormand energy around that is ship. Okay, your ship is coming in. That's a very positive Lenormand energy. Like things are heading in the right direction, which is what I felt. I felt like this is very, very positive. You're creating something very, very positive. You're just maybe getting a little bit in the weeds, but beyond that, you're creating something very positive, and you do have the way of doing it. It's time for your ship to come in. You're meant to be successful in something. Love, creativity, career, or whatever. Your ship is coming in. That's what the ship is talking about. And it's you being authentic to yourself that does it. I mean, sometimes when we get caught in the weeds, it's because we're trying to be authentic to everything else, you know. As I say, tick off all the checklists. But, you know, getting into the dance of life, that's what brings your ship in. So let's have a look at the fortune energy around what your block could be and what you need to be recalibrating. Fish. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting on a couple of levels. Again, fish is a very positive card. It's not saying that there is anything not fortunate in what you're doing here. Your ship's meant to come in. This is meant to be very good money-wise and things like that. It could be a little bit too much focus on the money and not on the joy, and you can have both if it's around a career thing or something like that. But otherwise, I think it's really interesting just the way of looking at this, because if you could see yourself almost, and this is taking a little bit out of the traditional Lenormand and just into what I get from the imagery here, it's like, again, focusing in on the minute detail. Where's the fish in this very small pond? Whereas, what could you be? It feels like, you know, moving from being a big fish in a small pond because you know everything really, really well to where you are, to being a smaller fish in a big pond, but that actually allows so much more. So there's that sort of shift as well, I think, that we're hearing or seeing in this particular reading. So then let's have a look at the fortune energy about if you really start to expand. Book. There's some learning and things to discover. Like, yeah, there's some things you haven't seen. You think you have all the detail, but there's something you haven't seen, and you can do that once you shift your focus, and that's the thing that brings the ship in. So this is what you should be doing in a liminal space. It's like, you know, like opening the book, reading, learning, exploring. That's the message very strongly here. So using the Akashic Records deck, what's the area of life in particular where maybe the first exploration would be most beneficial for you? Ooh, romance and partnership. So a lot of this feels like it's about like career or creativity or something like that, but it doesn't have to be. It's like, as I said, remember I did go on a bit about, you know, when you're looking for love and you might have your checklist and it gets in the way. It could be for some of you, it's about that. Who do you want to connect with in love, in career, as a partnership, whatever that might be. But that's an area where you can really start, if you look at things on a bigger picture and what your life path is and what you want to learn and expand and how you want to express yourself, maybe it's the prototype. You can bring in the right love relationship and you can start to see how this works. Makes you feel a little less like I have to analyze everything to death. I can actually just believe. So let's see some advice around that before we move to the tarot. Authenticity. Oh, look, sometimes with these sort of decks I go like, how does that happen? So that is all about being your authentic self. So it says, be your divine self at all times. You weren't designed to fit in, to like get outside of the details and into the potential. Break away from expectations and fully express yourself in your own unique way, and you'll be a magnet for success and love and relationships and whatever it is that you're looking for. Do you, as I often say, but really do you. Don't get into the details, get into all you could be. So let's use the tarot. So we're firstly going to ask how this fortune energy you're creating at the moment is aligning to your spirit path. Then we're going to have a look at what are some of the practical elements involved. Then we're going to look at the balance of what is internal to you, what is other people, and what is external events that have to do with this fortune. So firstly, how does it align with your spirit path at the moment? Knight of Cups. There's definitely, for a lot of you, this is about bringing in love, relationship, connection. Page of Cups. Yeah, definitely. Page of Cups. The Devil. Wow. Seven of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles reversed. Okay. So, all right. So again, the message is pretty clear. This is if it's not about love, if it's about a partnership that's authentic creatively or career-wise or whatever, the thing that brings in the offers and the connection is understanding what is tying you up now that you need to free yourself from. If this was about something creative or in a workplace, it could be that you're so focused on details of the environment you're in that you're not seeing the creative potential. Once you see the creative potential, you understand. You can either do the deal you need to tick what you need to do there, but to expand, or you can liberate yourself. But either way, there's that. This, for some of you too, this is a very profound, very passionate relationship that's meant to come in, if that's what this is about. What I find really interesting is the growth energy is connected to the telescope, which is what I was talking about. Instead of the microscope, it's the telescope, because there's something really wonderful that you're meant to manifest. And it's all there, it just hasn't been triggered yet. And once you kind of look at, it's like you look out into the universe and you see this. It's like you see a new star that you could follow and a new aim to have, and you can then bring it into the material. But you have to do this first, because you're kind of a bit tied up at the moment. And to bring this energy in, it's really important to be open to that. So let's have a look at the practical concerns around this fortune. Queen of Cups reversed, the Sun reversed, the Queen of Wands reversed. Yeah, you're not. Four of Cups reversed. This is really just like knowing that there's all the potential there, but you're lessening what you could be. This is what this is saying. It's saying like this wonderful sand dancer you could be. Like, it's just at the moment, because you're so detail oriented, you're not seeing all you could be. You're limiting yourself. Your ship's meant to come in. All this energy is going to happen to bring good stuff in. It's meant to be very materially good, very passionate, all of that sort of stuff. But if you limit yourself, it's not that you're not going to be successful, but you're going to be less successful than you could be. The practical element is at the moment, by being in this phase, you're not as connected to what you want emotionally, authentically, and how you want to express yourself. You can't fully release. Because remember I said this was like the Queen of Wands. You can't fully release the Queen of Wands or the heart. You're not fully following your life path with the Sun reversed and having the joy and the optimism about it. But there is something, there's a drumbeat going on. It's saying you're not quite happy emotionally with where you are, and that's the drumbeat that's going to take you from there to there. And this is just spirit wanting to say at a liminal level, you can do a lot. You just need to recognize it's all about perspective. So let's see in the fortune energy around it, if you understand that, how much is you, how much is other people, and how much is external. So if we get, I'm going to put 5 cards down now, if we get predominantly Ace to 10 in the suits, a lot of it's within you. If we get court cards, that tells us something about other people. And if we get major arcana, it's external events and so forth that are important. And we'll look at the nature of all of those things. So the Chariot, there's good opportunity. Your ship's coming in. Your destiny's meant to come in. 7 of Cups reversed. Queen of Pentacles reversed. 2 of Pentacles. Death card. Okay. So there's a big change energy coming in. Your ship is coming in. You're meant to be able to sort of get a good outcome. That's what this is saying. So this is why we've got the ship coming in. It's time for a decision. What is good is that you kind of understand that. You're very emotionally pragmatic about what this means. And you know that you have the material choices in your hands. But there is someone who is potentially, who may call you disloyal if you went off and did something on your own, or there's someone who you're not sure if they're going to commit to what you would want and so forth. But the only way you're going to know is to move forward, and they're either going to try and block it, in which case just keep moving towards you're meant to get here, and you know that it's more in your control, or it helps you decide, is this sort of someone that you would commit to if it's around love? Is it someone who's trying to stand in the way of the love energy, so you get past that? But this is very fate oriented. It is time for a significant change and a choice. And it's a very material choice. So it's like there's a lot about love and caring and passion here, but you're quite pragmatic about it. But there's someone who's either not loyal, or there's someone who thinks you're not loyal if you shift or whatever. Just be aware of that. Doesn't mean that you stop, but you've got to think, what is in the bigger picture? If you feel like you're always trying to fit the criteria of someone else, you've got to fit your criteria. That's what this is saying. Okay, so let's have a look at the spiritual energy around it. not seeing eye to eye. Yeah, there could be someone, and this might be part of it, maybe what's going on, whether it's around a relationship, whether it's around what people, your friends think of a relationship, whether it's around career, whatever it is. This may be why you keep going into the details, because there's some sort of argument with someone else about the materiality. But I think you just need to be aware of that, because in the end, it's got to be your vision. You know, you don't get held back by that. And tabula rasa, clean straight. Yeah, you're meant to kind of like, if that's the case, move on. If not, clear everything away, clear away all the criteria, get back to the big picture. You know, sometimes, you know, in like corporate world or something like that, if a strategy has got stuck, if a business strategy has got stuck, the best thing you can do is take away all your sort of, you know, key performance indicators, all that, just throw it all out and start again, blue sky thinking. What is it you're trying to do? And build from that. Because if we keep building and iterating on what we already have, if there's something flawed in it, we're only ever going to get something flawed. So I think this is like how you step back and you look at it. Okay, so let's see how your chakras are balanced in this fortune energy you're bringing through. Okay, so I've got the crown chakra. Overactive. I sense knowledge overwhelm. Okay, so this, yeah, it's too much. And this may be what's stopping you doing this. You might think, I've got so much already on my plate. How can I do that? But this is the thing. It's almost like if you literally like wipe the blackboard clean or the whiteboard clean and you sort of start it again on the big picture, that simplifies things, oddly enough. By getting the bigger perspective, the knowledge overwhelm is too much detail. And we have the third eye chakra. I see and connect to the universe. Balanced. Yeah, you can do that. And you can bring in the right people as well too. I always think the third eye shows telepathy as well. If you connect more to the universe, you're going to naturally connect more to those who are on the kind of telepathic frequency that you're on, rather than kind of getting, you know, bogged down, because that's the energy here. It's got so much potential, but it's sort of bogged down in the detail. Okay, so let's get you a couple of spirit animals out in the desert there to see what they can do to help you. And that's interesting, that came up for one of the others. And parrot. How pretty is the parrot? I think these guides are here to give you a sense about how to negotiate with other people. There is at least one person who there is an issue in you really stepping back and looking at the big picture and so forth. But it's also like, if you want to create something, maybe that's where you get bogged down in the detail. How do I do this with other people or whatever? So there is a way of doing that. And is how one collaborates and communicates with others. The parrot is how you do it in an authentic way that speaks your truth. So this is the shift. It's like, I feel like you're meant to be the visionary in a group or something like that. Or if this is a love relationship, you're actually meant to be the one who expresses your feelings within a group around it to bring that energy in. It's almost like you've been fitting in and you're really good at that and you're really good at the detail, but you've kind of lost who you are. And this is the thing. It's like getting back to this sand dancer, this parrot, this Queen of Wands energy. Okay, so let's also see what a couple of planetary pairings for energies that might help you. We have Mercury and Uranus. Yeah, it's all about communication. I'm going to put this over here. It's like the change, you need to communicate the change, and I think it needs to be big picture and evolutionary, which is much more looking into the cosmos rather than looking into the detail. Like if that was Mercury with Saturn, I'd probably have put it over there saying your communication is being too much around the structure and the details, but this is an evolutionary growth energy. And Moon and Chiron. Yeah, there's some emotional healing to go on, some spiritual and psychic healing to go on. Again, if there's any emotional healing or any kind of healing in general, I think this would be saying, again, it might be you're looking at all the protocols and all the regimens to get better, but it's like really just expanding your sense of self will do a lot more for you. Go on a holiday. Because you might be a bit of a workaholic with this energy, or very, very kind of like obsessive with detail. And again, I know this, I'm like that, so I'm not criticizing, but I think at the moment it's sort of like it's cutting you off from all you could be. And your ship is meant to come in, so you want it to be as laden with wonderful bounty as possible. Okay, so to finish off, I'm just going to get a different fortune deck, Madame and Dora's, and we're just going to see two other pieces of advice. It could be some things to watch out for, it could be some things to leverage. around the fortune that you're creating for yourself in the liminal space at the moment. The key, locked doors can now be opened. Yeah, it's the key. The key is the perspective. So yeah, things are meant to start to move for you. And the seer, follow your intuition. Yeah. I think a lot of this, I think this was right from the beginning, a direct call, like do it through meditation, something like that. Actually actively do it. Like put yourself in that space and see yourself looking out into the cosmos, see yourself floating into the cosmos, see yourself looking at the world and your world from a long distance and looking at all the potential pathways and what you would want to do. That will really be the key, because you do have the ability to do this, but you've kind of like really focused so much on the detail, you know, you're not seeing the wood for the trees, as they say. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the intriguing, the empty seat. This one really fascinated me when that came out, and it's really interesting given what's here. There's a sense in this, you know, and what I do, because I'm learning this deck now as I use it, because I couldn't wait to use it, that before I sort of press record, I just look at what the meanings are to get a sense to add to what I get intuitively. And the big thing that I got intuitively, to be honest, when I looked at this, was Arthurian. And I know that people will go, why? But bear with me on this. Basically, I want to go to this one last. I want to talk about New Promise, Silence, Guardian Reversed, and then the empty seat. Because New Promise, in the liminal space, this is saying the future that you're creating is one of a new possibility. It's literally going through the new doors, you know, into something new. This is all about a new possibility. So for you, it could be that you're creating something that will be a new opportunity in your career. It could be a new relationship. It could be a new creative project. It could be a new course of study. It could be anything, but it is basically a sense of going towards the new. But I think because the empty seat is there, I just feel like that's a throne in a way. But anyway, I'll get to that. But like there is a lot of possibility and a lot of potential in this. But it's interesting, the thing that you need to work through at a liminal level, and then, you know, potentially in the material, is that you may have separated yourself or silenced yourself or isolated yourself too much, and it's time to come out of that, to come out of the cave, to open the doors, to come out into the world, because there's a role you're meant to have. The empty seat is like this possibility. It's a very similar energy to this. So the empty seat there is an invitation, but I feel like it felt, and I'm not saying this is literal. I'm not saying that, you know, somebody who's listening to this reading is, you know, the once and future king returned or whatever, but it has that kind of feeling of there is actually a destined role. That's what I think this is saying. A destined role that in a sense you're meant to sit on, you know, it's like on the Game of Thrones, you're meant to sit on the Iron Throne. There's something like that. This is the beginning of the journey that you're creating, the liminal, but this is almost both the destination and also the realization of the potential. And it's a seat that's waiting for you. This is a destiny for you, but you have, and it's maybe even the thing that's made you silent and separate, because this is what this energy is. This card is someone who's been very much separating and isolating themselves and in silence, and it's saying you have to come out of that. You have to come out of the caves. You have to come out and show yourself to take this on. You have to claim your seat at the table. You know, if you're in a workplace, it might be, you know, it's time to move up into the C-suite and be, you know, have a seat at the executive table or something like that. But whatever it is, there is a huge amount of potential here. And I feel like there's almost two stages to it, because there's the new journey to head towards the seat that requires you to become more connected with others and speak your truth more. And then there's almost a second journey that comes when you reach the seat, and you have the potential that comes from that. So very, very interesting. As I say, it kind of feels Arthurian. Like this is where the lady in the lake puts this, you know, the sword in the stone, and this is where the sword is pulled from the stone or something. But, you know, it had to be shown, had to you know, the Arthurian energy had to show itself first. That's why I kind of felt that way. This feels like a throne to me in a way. And again, it's not saying you have to be royal or something like that. It's just an energy. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Lenormand deck that is the sister deck to this. just to look at some more about the fortune energy around each of these things. Like what is going on fortune-wise in the liminal that you can either be aware of and eliminate if it's a challenge, or leverage and use if it's good. We're then going to use the Akashic Records deck to see what area in life is either the entry point for this, like going through the doors, or the main area, and then we'll use tarot to get a bit more information and so forth. But firstly, I feel like I want to go in that order, 1, 2, 3. I feel like that's the order of it. So what is the fortune energy around the new promise when you walk through this door? Cross. Oh, this is big. And you may at first think it's a burden because the cross can be like that in Lenormand. It can be like a burden or it's a destined thing, very sacred. You may feel when you walk through this door, what am I carrying? Am I carrying my cross, basically? But it's very spiritual, very powerful, but it may require a certain degree of sacrifice. And I think for you, it might be the sacrifice of going from where you felt safe and hidden and in your own world out into the world and taking on a role. So this is big. There's a big energy around this. What's the fortune around coming out of the cave and speaking your truth, or whatever it is that this is about? House. This is something that helps you find your home. This is something that makes you feel secure in the end for all of that. But I also think it might be coming out of your house. Like it might be you've been in a secure place. It's now time to emerge from that. There is definitely the sort of sense of like family and security and energy around it. So I don't think that you're necessarily going to lose that, but you do have to come out and speak. And I feel again, like, as I said, this is a bit like the Iron Throne, House Targaryen or whatever. Like there's something about like, what's your team? Or something like that. It's an interesting energy. And then the next stage, after you've gone through the doors, you've come out and shown your colours, shown your team, whatever this is, what is the role? What is the fortune energy around that? The moon. Very spiritual. Maybe still a bit hidden. There may be a bit of a compromise here. So it's interesting, like you can almost not see. You have to look quite closely to see. It's quite a dark, it's like sunset or something, to see the throne or to see the chair. So at first it's not seen. So it may be that at first the energy is quite spiritual and quite soft and a little bit hidden. I think over time it won't be as hidden because you really can't be silent for too long. But it's almost like this happens sort of subtly, and this is probably happening in the liminal first before it happens in the material. Gradually, I feel like gradually more and more light is on it. I also feel like with the moon, it's like connected to the reflective light of the sun. So this may be you may have been in a situation where you've almost been the power behind the throne, and it's now time for you to start to move away from that and be the power of the throne. That kind of energy as well could be going on. Let's have a look at what area in life in particular this first really manifests in the 3D, if this is what's going on fortune-wise in the liminal space for you. Health and wellness. Okay, so I think that this is, you may in fact have been convalescing, or some of you might have been convalescing and it's now time to come back out and take what you need. Or it could be that you are working in that kind of area, or your spiritual path and what you're doing is in that space in some way to help others with health and wellness, to lead out in that kind of energy. So I think, either you've recovered from something, you're coming back into a role, and that's what it's talking about. And then you take it further, but it's changed, things have changed and there's much more growth. Or it's saying that there's something in that area where you will lead out and be important for others, I would say. Let's see the advice around it for you. Take the high road. You're at an impasse with a relationship or situation. It's now time to think bigger, release desired outcomes, and take the most positive course of action. Okay, for some of you, you may need to move away from a relationship that you were too reflective, you were to take your own path. That might be the health and wellness. It might be to really take this on. You need to move away from a more controlling or constrictive relationship, whether it's a loved one or whether it's a family member. So that could be part of it. But there is also, I think here, because it is about health and wellness, it is about if you're going to take this role on, if you're going to start to speak your truth, you need to take the high road in doing it as well. I think that's the other side of this. So let's see what we get with tarot. So we're going to have a look at how does this align with your spiritual path right now. We're going to have a look at what are the practical implications of this fortune, and then we're going to have a look at the balance of whether this is really about you, how much other people are involved, how much external events are involved. So that kind of balance. So firstly, what's going on in your spiritual path that this is the fortune forming in the liminal for you? Knight of Swords, Eight of Wands reversed, the Empress reversed, the Hermit reversed, the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, this is why I've got the sense of like a dynasty, or, as I say, a House Targaryen or Arthurian legends or whatever it might be. I have this sort of sense of a role that is kind of destined, that there's an ancestral karmic thing to, and you are meant to come out, like literally, look at how similar they are in their sort of red outfits, it's like coming out of the thing. In fact, I almost think like the Hermit here has come a little bit further. It's the same figure. So you're meant to sort of come out towards your kind of almost your role. But you have been the reflected light of others. Your full kind of creative energy and so forth hasn't, this is to bring this out. It has been limited to some degree, and it'll happen quite quickly. Once you start to move in the liminal, this will happen quite quickly. If you're like looking for like a promotion or something like that, in the workplace, if you felt that you were held back, then I think you're going to find suddenly everything moves really fast, particularly if you own this in the liminal space. If you start to go, yes, I deserve it. So let's have a look at what are the practical implications of this for you. Four of Pentacles reversed, King of Wands, Six of Cups, Nine of Wands reversed. Okay. There is a shift in the material basis to something new. This is you. This is this Arthurian thing. This is you coming into who you are. Doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter. That's not really what's important here. This is coming into the creative energy. It's something you really cared about. It's something, for some of you, you've almost been groomed to do this from when you were young. As I say, there's a dynastic feeling about this. But it is in a tricky environment. It is in one where it's almost like, will you get to the empty chair? Like what's going on? What are the risks associated? As I say, very Arthurian, very Game of Thrones. It has that kind of feeling about it. So given that, let's have a look at the balance of what's internal to you in this, what is other people, what is external. So if we get more cards that are Ace to 10, then it's more about what's going on with you internally. If we get Court cards, it's other people involved in this. If we get Major Arcana, it's some external energies that are operating. So, Page of Pentacles, Two of Swords reversed, Ace of Pentacles reversed, Four of Cups reversed, the Tower reversed. Okay, so you are almost bookended by external energies, one being another person. There is another person. So this is, again, it has this feeling. It's like, who else would be the one who wanted to take the empty chair? This is meant to be your destiny, but you've got to come out and claim it, because there's someone else who thinks they have a material right to whatever this is. There's also a lot of change going on, but it's subtle. It's a bit like the Moon card. It's not like, there's a changing of the guards that's really, a lot of it's done behind the scenes, a lot of it's subtle. So incremental changes that are happening in the world are opening up the opportunity for this, but there is someone else who wants to stake a claim. So you have to make the decision that it's yours to have, and you've got to come out of any emotional issues around that you have. So you've got to internally get ready to make the choice and move forward. The change energy is operating and you can work with it, but there is someone else who wants what you could have here. So you just need to be aware of it. Okay, let's see the spiritual energy around it for you. Call on your guides for help. Okay, so because you are meant to do this, so call on that energy, like to find out what you need to find out, what you should say, what you shouldn't say. If you don't know who this person is, who is that person, get that kind of energy. I feel like you've got really strong angelic guidance looking at that card. And rise and shine your light, not the light of other people. Move to the sun from the moon. The moon is the kind of gradual dawning of it all in the liminal to bring it into the material. Okay. What's the chakra balance that will help you with this? We have the root chakra. I am fearful, underactive. Yeah, you're worried about this for some reason. You've kept very, there's a lot of power around this, and I think, that can be scary. So you need to kind of know you do have the stability. You're holding back on that, but this is your destiny. You're not a pretender to the throne, but if you let your fear get in the way, then possibly others would take the throne, so to speak. Solar plexus, overactive, I do act aggressively. So you toggle between the two. You may sometimes be too retreating and too quiet, and sometimes too combative. It's like bringing it into balance. There's a gentle way of going from the moon to the sun to operate with this. And you can do it in the liminal. You can do it through kind of meditation and asking your guides for the way to do that, to bring that into balance. But yeah, you toggle between the two. And these two would go together a lot. If you're feeling unsafe and fearful in your material world, you might get aggressive about trying to protect. But this is your destiny. It doesn't need an aggressive thing. It just needs claiming it in the right way. So let's get you some spirit animals in the desert there to help you and guide you. Eagle. Wow, majestic, getting that really high order perspective. Eagle and lizard. So there's a couple of things I get from this. One is one really high in the air, one really close to the ground. I feel like it's kind of giving you both perspectives just on a general level, but also the eagle is meant to get beyond limitations. Any limitations that you put on yourself or on your claim to something, you soar above and you do that. The lizard is highly transformative, and it can also rejuvenate itself. So if you're worried and fearful of the impact, lizards can often regrow a limb that disappears or something like that. So this is the power of renewal as well, of a higher order perspective and renewal. So don't be afraid. You're meant to go towards that empty chair. That's meant for you. But as I say, there's 2 stages to this. I don't know what that means. There's the first journey, and then there's what you do when you get there. And that'll be different for whoever comes to the reading. Okay, let's see what a couple of planetary pairings might tell you that would be helpful. Jupiter and Saturn. Wow. Yeah, this is very much in future king, I've got to say. The benefic expansion, but also the responsibility. This is why we saw the cross. It's like, this is big. It's expansive. It's good. It's on your life path, but it has responsibility associated with it. That's a good balance to have, though. Too much Jupiter is too expansive. Too much Saturn is too restrictive. It's a good balance, bringing things into balance. And Moon and Neptune, your psychic ability, your spiritual ability, understanding that, coming out of, this feels like you're almost hermetic, as it says, very spiritual. This is now taking something more material on because it's your destiny, and understanding that and connecting into that destiny. Okay, to finish off, we're just going to draw a couple of cards from a different fortune deck, Madame and Doris, just for any other fortune energy, whether it's warnings to be aware of or whether it's things to leverage, that will help you in navigating what you are creating in the liminal now and bringing it rightfully into the material world. So firstly, we have the Griffin, honor and good luck. Yeah, this is your destiny. You're meant to do this. And the Minstrel, let your intentions be known. Yeah, you cannot, it sort of feels a bit like someone who could run for office, for instance. And you're actually the perfect person to lead this political party, for instance. But you have to let people know you're prepared to do it. Because otherwise someone else is going to come along and do it. And they're not as developed as you, and it's not really their throne. But if you stay silent, it won't happen. So it's like seeing yourself do it. It's like you do need to let people know. What you're doing is honourable, and it is what you're meant to do. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.